All right, it's the death of the Pac-12. I thought we should have a funeral today, fellas. I thought we should have a funeral today. That's why I'm wearing all black right now. The death of the Pac-12. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, let's go.
Mr. Pac-12, need I remind everybody, so I need to pay proper respects.
Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you coming here today as we mourn the death of the Pac-12 Conference. She was a good Pac-12. She provided many degenerates and Bill Walton fans some great late night entertainment. Great late night entertainment. I can't say
Amen.
Well, no, we're not done yet. No. We thank thee for many Pac-12 overs over the years and other bets. May she, the Pac-12, rest in peace. Anyhow, it's the death of the Pac-12. We're going to talk about the last Pac-12 preview today. Bryan and Dylan here, like I mentioned before. Let's start off. I'm going to read through the Pac-12 odds real quick, and then we're going to start off with the top dogs of the conference. USC 2-1 to win the Pac-12. They're the heavy favorite. Oregon plus 300, Washington plus 350, Utah plus 550, Oregon State 11-1, UCLA 14-1, Washington State 44-1, Cal 68-1. If you bet Cal to win the Pac-12, call the hotline right now. Number is right below here, 1-800-GAMBLER. Arizona 77-1, Arizona State plus 12,000. The rest don't even bother. They're 1,000,000,000 odds. Let's start off. USC, Caleb Williams return, Heisman, Lincoln Riley, second year. 9.5 wins. They lose in the Pac-12 title game last year. I'm going to start with Mr. Pac-12 over there, 2022. Mr. Pac-12. USC, you were against USC in the title game. What are your thoughts? Their win total is 9.5 going into this year.
Yes, I am Mr. Pac-12. Bryan, I don't know if you caught on to the win last year on Karter Cast. I made Utah over USC in the Pac-12 championship. My game of not the year, not the decade, not the century, but the millennium. And we all know how that turned out.
Yeah.
Utah won by like 50. It wasn't even close. We don't need to talk about Caleb Williams injuring himself in the middle. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, the bet cashed, and I was right. That's all that matters. But with that being said, USC, you guys know that I really like going against the hype. And USC is going to be the team again that has the hype. They obviously have the Heisman winner returning. And any chance that I get to bet against that, I'm going to. So I am going to take their under win total. I saw 10.5 with juice. I feel more comfortable going with that. I think it's like minus 180. Gives me that extra game of cushion there. USC is on paper, far and away, they have the highest ceiling. Their offense is probably the best that's in that conference. And they're returning a lot of defensive production from last year. The question is that a good thing? Because their defense wasn't good last year. They allowed over 30 points a game. They might have experience coming back, but that whole unit struggled all year. And we saw it in almost every game they played. So I'm not as high on USC as probably other people are going to be. So I'm going to take the under there. I'm anxious to hear what you guys have to say about that because I think that might be. So are you taking
the under at 10.5 or 9.5? Because there's a big distinction there.
I'm taking it at 10.5. I have minus 180 written down, and I will lay the extra juice to get the extra game.
Whew, that's a lot of juice. I'm going over 9.5. I'm going over 9.5. I wouldn't get 10.5 is where I get scared because you look at the schedule. They're going to start off 6-0, no matter what. San Jose State, Nevada, Stanford, Arizona State, Colorado, Arizona. 6-0, bang. At Notre Dame is where the season starts. They can win that Notre Dame game, win totals cash, no matter what. They get to play home Utah. They don't have to play Oregon State this year. Home Utah, they don't have to go to Salt Lake City. At Cal, dub. Washington, hard game. At Oregon, hard game. UCLA should be a win. I know Bryan's a UCLA guy, but that should be a win. You never know. It's a rivalry game. I like 10 wins there. I think they're 10-2.
You don't see – I mean, I can just see it right now. We get to, like end of September, early October, and the headline is Deion Sanders Buffaloes take down undefeated Trojans. I mean, you can't see that?
No, I really can't. Because
that's in the script.
No, because Colorado, the Colorado stuff is not going to go well. Because John Ewing on Twitter, the MGM guy who gives out all their stats, every single week, it's Colorado has the most money on over 3.5 wins. Colorado is not going to do well this year just because of that.
Can I just interject for a second?
Go for it.
The only thing I want, so I think everyone brings up valid points. I do think, though, again, if we just look at the schedule, one, Caleb Williams is the best player in college football.
Yes.
He is the best player at his position, and it's the most important position. I think he's a lot better than most. Obviously, Drake May is a really good quarterback, but I do think that Caleb Williams, I've seen some throws that this guy makes. I've seen some of the plays. Obviously, he's so hyped right now too. So it's really hard to kind of encapsulate his true ranking, because to a lot of people, I think he's underrated, and to maybe some people, he's overrated. They're saying he's the best. Some people are saying he's the best college prospect since Andrew Luck, and some people are saying he's Patrick Mahomes right now. So it's really, really kind of doing a disservice to, I think, the Caleb Williams ranking. But again, I just want to point this out very quickly. When they play Utah, it's at home. When they play Washington, it's at home. And then UCLA is at home. So for me, the juice on the win total, obviously it matters. But USC to win, I think they're gonna win over 10 games, and I think they're gonna win the Pac-12.
I do too. I have them winning the Pac-12 as well. I know we usually start this show talking about the winners and all that, blah blah blah. That's why I started with USC, because I think they are the winner this year. And also, little stat here, besides 2020, because they didn't play 10 total games that season, Lincoln Riley's never finished below 10 wins, Dylan.
The first time for everything. Just because something is, see, that's the thing. Just because something has happened in the past doesn't mean that it's going to keep happening.
That's a fair argument, but at the same time, this is one of his best teams. And he's also never gone below 10 wins. And now he has one of his best teams. Those things do coincide.
For me, that's okay, because he can win 10 games. I'm okay with him winning 10 games.
Yeah, and I get 9.5. You get 10.5. We're both happy.
There we go. We've solved this whole problem.
Arguing? Yeah, we figured this out.
And I just want to add this as well. Pac-12, sneaky deep. Sneaky deep. So to Dylan's point, it's sneaky deep. I genuinely think they lucked out that they're playing all those teams at home, because if they were playing those teams on the road, I mean, really, the only two, I see a trap game at Notre Dame, and then because Utah follows it up, and then that game at Oregon with the 10-year vet Bo Nix. Hilarious that he's still playing college football.
Yeah, and Oregon doesn't lose at home when the LA teams go north.
Right.
So
I don't.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dylan.
I don't even think Caleb. My hot take for this USC team.
I know it.
He's not going to be a Heisman finalist. They're not going to have enough wins for it. They're not going to be a good enough team.
You're not going to have enough wins for him to be. I can see him, obviously, him being the Heisman to be, a back-to-back winner of the Heisman since Archie Griffin in the 70s. Crazy. Probably won't ever happen again. But for I've sensed that there is a Caleb Williams is overrated quality coming out of the Pac-12 Ken.
I mean, he's a great player. You can't say he's the greatest player in college football right now, I don't think. I would say that there is plenty of other talent that play tougher teams.
Who? Say it. Who's the player? Who is the player that is better than Caleb Williams?
Don't say JJ.
Don't you dare say Drake May.
JJ. I would say JJ. If you want to disregard position, I would say Blake Corum. I would also go as far to say Joe Milton will have a better year than Caleb Williams, and I will go as far to say that Cam Rising will post better numbers this year.
He conveniently froze.
Yeah, he gets out of here. Every episode on these previews, we've had someone that gets knocked out right in the middle of their rant, and did
that go out?
It went out because last thing you said, you were talking about Joe Milton. I'm leaving all of this in here, by the way.
Go back. So pick it up from Joe Milton.
Joe Milton is going to be better than Caleb Williams. I think his upside is more than Caleb Williams. I think Cam Rising is going to put up better numbers than Caleb Williams.
No.
Yes, he will.
No. Cam Rising is coming off a torn ACL right now and losing Dalton Kincaid. No way he's going to have better numbers than Caleb Williams.
He's been consistent. He has been consistent over the past 2 years that he's been quarterback, 140-plus passer rating.
Did you watch Caleb Williams last year? Be honest. Did you watch
Yes,
Caleb
I
Williams?
did. I watched plenty of USC football.
Besides the Pac-12 title game.
Yes, I watched him when they played him in the regular season.
froze.
I watched some random game that I bet on.
This is so convenient.
I'll go look at my action. If I bet on a
This is
USC
the only thing
game,
I'll say while he's still he's back. He's back. All right, go ahead.
This is frustrating, the fact that I keep freezing, because I'm rattling off some great takes and we're missing it.
Keep it going. Keep it going. What'd you say while you were frozen?
We can look at my action. Look at my action. If I bet on a USC game, I guarantee you I stayed up to watch it. I guarantee you I don't fall asleep during those things in the fall. Oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my mind.
If you watched USC, then how are you not saying he's the best quarterback? Because if you watch him, he is electric. He can run. He can throw. He can do everything on the football field. He takes a team from literally nothing to something.
He's worth 3 wins.
Yes, easy.
Caleb Williams?
Yeah.
Oh, he's worth more than that. There's no doubting.
Well, I'm talking about the elite. I'm talking about like to go from 9. I'm saying 10, 11, 12. I'm saying he's worth that. I think obviously their defense is super sus, and I think USC is going to make the playoffs. I do think their schedule.
The playoffs?
Yes, I do.
Oh my gosh, they're not winning their conference.
Whoa. Who's winning their conference then?
Utah.
No, not again.
No.
It's over.
Oh my gosh, this is insane.
Cam
They're
Rising is
slow starters.
Cam Rising is coming off a torn ACL, losing his best weapon in Dalton Kincaid. Guess who they play start of the season? Florida, Baylor. Yes, does that include their Pac-12 schedule? No, but let's read off their Pac-12 schedule. We're going into Utah real quick because this is insane. They have to play UCLA at Oregon State. That's a loss right there. You heard it right here. That is a loss at Oregon
What
State.
is? At UCLA?
No, Oregon State.
Utah at Oregon State.
Yeah, right.
Tough game in Corvallis. Did you not watch Oregon State last year?
Tough team.
Also, Dylan, just to let you know, put this in the tickler file. That's an under game right there. So that's an under game for both of us right there. Anyhow, They play Cal, win. At USC, probably a loss.
Win.
Depending on how you. At USC, no. Then they got to play Oregon right after that, back to back. Then they got to play Arizona State, win. At Washington is going to be a difficult game. Michael Penix, and that's in November up in Washington. That's a brutal game. They have to play Washington in November in Washington. Michael Penix is going to slice and dice up that Utah defense. What? He had the most passing yards in college football last season.
If he's going to slice up Utah's defense, then Rising is going to do it to Washington's. Every single team in the Pac-12 has an awful defense except for Utah. Every single team. Oregon State. Okay, hand up, Karter. Oregon State. I was wrong. Oregon State and Utah have 2 great defenses, but that's it in the Pac-12. No one else can play defense.
Pac-12 is awesome.
So Cam Rising's like what helps Cam Rising, or what makes Cam like the positive attributes of Cam Rising's game that I think I'm worried about is he runs the ball. You know what I mean? He steps up. He moves a lot in the pocket is what I'm trying to say. He steps up a lot. If he just drops back and throws the ball, I think that's going to be an issue. And so maybe come November that clears up and it's a different story. But Utah's slow. They're a slow starting football team, and Cam Rising's coming off an ACL. I just think it's bad timing on their part. Do I think they're going to be strong at the end of the year? Like, yeah, they're Utah. They're a coach team. The coach has been there for fucking 30 years. He's been there forever. So like, I just think that's going to be. I think it's just difficult for Utah. It's too much to overcome. I don't. And Oregon State, I believe in I'm curious about them too.
Dylan, anything else to add on Utah?
I don't know. I mean, you're right about the mobility thing after tearing your ACL, but the difference is, and I had a lot of time to think about this today. So when I'm not doing anything, I just have these long, deep thoughts in my own head, and I think, what is the difference between the cluster of teams you have up here in college football that are amazing, right? And when I say amazing, I'm going to go Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia, Alabama, Utah, USC, Washington, maybe throw them in there. The difference is the teams that commit less penalty yards and have better defenses and play better on the road prevail. So you have this explosive USC offense, and that's fine. USC's offense is up there with Ohio State's. They're the two best in the country. Up until next year, Michigan's going to be up there with them. But the defense, what the heck are we doing here? It's amateur hour here at 1350 Hanover Court. There we go. There we go. The defense and the lack of penalty yards is what matters, and that's not skill. The defense is skill. Penalty yards aren't skill. That's discipline and that's coaching. And I'm riding that all the way home when you're talking about these types of teams that find themselves in the mix, either in their conferences or in the college football championship, the playoffs every year. I'm always going to take defense, and I'm always going to take the team that doesn't commit penalty yards and plays better on the road. And Utah's that when we're looking at USC.
Yeah, but can they keep up with these explosive offenses? Eventually, offense wins games at the end of the day. You got to score the ball.
I'm not going to sit here and talk about offense, defense wins games. I'm not going to because they both matter. They both matter, and defense travels better. So that's what I'm taking.
Defense does travel better, but at some point, this Utah offense is further enough behind where their defense can't keep them up to par with an explosive offense like an Oregon, like a Washington, like a USC.
Karter, you ever played Magic the Gathering?
No, I haven't.
Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, any kind of card game.
Yeah, Pokemon. I play. Yeah. Shout out Pokemon.
I don't know if Pokemon's the same way as this example. I don't know if this is going to be good for the example I'm about to make. But in Magic the Gathering, each card has a power. Each card has a defense. Right? And you can have a card with a 7 power and a 1 defense and 7 defense and 1 power. They're both just going to end up killing each other. Right? We can talk about the difference between offense and defense all the time. What I'm saying is Utah's offense isn't worse than what USC's defense is. And I know this isn't the situation, but let's say we have USC and Utah on a neutral field again. I trust Utah a whole lot more going and playing away from their stadium than USC.
But at the moment, we don't have them on a neutral site. They're playing in Southern Cal.
That's fine. I trust Utah more traveling to USC than I would trust USC traveling to Utah. And we saw that last year.
But that doesn't even matter, though. We don't have to decide that.
I guess you're right, but do you get what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying, but the thing is, it's a pointless argument because we don't have to worry about that because they play in Los Angeles.
But you're saying, oh, well, they're playing in USC. They're playing USC at USC. It doesn't matter as much as if we were considering the opposite. It's not worth as much to the spread, Utah traveling to play somewhere, than it does for USC, Washington, Oregon. It doesn't because they have the defense and they have the discipline. USC doesn't.
I mean, you can make that. I guess that's fair. I mean, it's just USC's better. Like
I understand what you're saying, Dylan. I get it, but I just also think like there's something like we saw. Cam Rising is not as good at playing quarterback as Caleb Williams, and I understand your point. Which is they even out at the end of the day, but I don't think they will even out at the end of the day. I think this dude is on a mission. I think, listen, if the defense is just a little bit better, if it's just a little bit better, and I think they had some people in the transfer, I forget, if they just got a fucking smidge better, they're gonna win the Pac-12. Like, it sickens me to my core. I'm disgusted right now. This is basically smut to me. Discussing USC for fucking 20 minutes. I'm grossed out. I haven't been to therapy, but
I'm a BYU fan. And I'm a BYU fan. We're having to talk about Utah for like 10 minutes.
That's true. That's true.
I'm just gonna say, Brian, you said something about what did you say about Caleb Williams that he wants it or something?
Not the bell-shaped curve.
I'll bring that out too. Curve. But you said something about Caleb wanting it or something. He wants it this year.
I think the leadership capability. I think he's a really good leader. I think he's holding this team to a higher standard. I think this team is on a mission. Is what I'm trying to say.
So I'm a numbers guy. You know that. You can't
data-driven.
quantify that. You can't quantify drive.
Couldn't quantify Tom Brady either.
Michigan man. You can quantify being a Michigan man. None of
Can't
these guys are
quantify.
Michigan men.
What about Pat Mahomes in the Super Bowl against the Eagles? Can you quantify that?
Or against the Niners, that son of a bitch.
Anyway, we're gonna break this out again just for the people. Oh, see, I messed it up. Hold on. I brought this out during the SEC preview, and we're gonna bring it right back out. Okay, gotta let the balls fall.
Is this standard deviation? Are you gonna do standard deviation right now?
Yeah, we're gonna do Z scores based on Caleb Williams' performances last year,
Dude,
and where they fall.
For the women probably like the one woman who listens to this podcast, bell-shaped curves, Z scores, and Magic the Gathering, it doesn't get any better for them.
Yeah.
The YouTube demos are going to be 99% male, and then like 1% female.
That's
if that
what it is.
Yeah. I love that this class became I love that this podcast almost became a math class.
It happened on the SEC preview, don't worry.
Intro to stats.
Anytime, boys.
Stats 121, let's go. But all right, I think we've talked about USC and Utah enough.
Yeah.
I'm on USC over 9.5. Dylan's under 10.5. Whatever number you get it at, cool. Go for it. Whatever.
Try to get it at 9.
Also, after this, I hate Utah. I despise Utah. They have 2 tough early games. Give me Utah under 8.5 wins.
I just real quick, one last note I had about Utah. They're returning 83% of their offensive production. You want to talk about Dalton Kincaid leaving? That's fine. He'll find someone else to get the ball to. Average 8 yards an attempt last season, passing attempt. You want to talk about Utah's offense not being great?
I'm just worried about the ACL, though. That is not a normal injury you come back from. And yes, and I think you understand it, too. I'm not sitting here saying you don't understand the ACL, but that's just what my concern is. You're more betting on the defense and the head coach of it all. And I understand that. Give me Utah under 8.5. That's where we differ. That's why this is a great podcast.
I never officially gave this out either because we transitioned from USC to Utah pretty smoothly. But I do have Utah over 8.5 wins. I have them to win the Pac-12 plus 550. Cam Rising to win Heisman 66-1, and Utah to make the playoffs 10-1.
This is going to be. Oh, I don't mean to elaborate. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go
That's
for it. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I think by the time they get to Oregon State, they're going to be 2-2, and they're playing. You know what I mean? At Oregon State.
Yep.
So what? As we've talked about, last year is a tough place to play. It's a possibility. By week 5, they're 2-3.
Yeah, I think they're going to finish 8-4, 7-5.
We can sit here and we can talk about possibilities all day. We'd have a 6-hour-long podcast.
Exactly. We need to move this thing on. Let's move on to the other technical top dog by the Vegas odds. Oregon, their win total is 9.5. They return 15th-year senior Bo Nix. They ranked 123rd in team sacks last year. Like every Pac-12 team, like Dylan mentioned, besides Utah and Oregon State. Great offense, terrible defense. And Oregon, they do have a great home field advantage. Does anybody have anything on Oregon?
Defense is bad. I don't really trust Bo Nix against really good defenses. I don't know. I don't have the schedule up, so I don't know how many they play off the top of my head. But I just keep thinking of that Georgia game last year, man. I mean, that was...
Yeah, but they played – I mean, they were phenomenal after that, though. Obviously, they blew the Oregon State game, but they were great after that Georgia game.
What's the juice on their win total again?
I don't know the exact number yet, but what side were you thinking? I'll get stats department on it.
I would lean under.
So Bet365 has Oregon under 9.5 minus 125.
I mean, so there you go. I don't know. I like if you're gonna make a bet on Oregon, I would like Bo Nix has been playing college football for 6 years now, and he is what he is, and he's going to win some games. He's going to lose some games. He's going to have you scratching your head sometimes. You're going to be like, dude, you're like 27. Like, that was crazy. Why did you make that decision? So I genuinely think, like,
I think it's fair because they can't afford to slip up, and they got to play at Washington, at Utah, toughest game in the Pac-12, like we mentioned. They got to play home USC, and they got to play a rivalry game against Oregon State. Plus, they have to play at Texas Tech at the beginning of the year. I actually really like that under.
I mean, they're hosting the Cougs, but that's not an easy game either. Like I don't think Bo Nix is. I think he's got to be pretty fucking dumb. Something tells me Bo Nix is not a bright person. Besides the fact that he's like in college for 6 years, like, and obviously, like, we know that it's to keep playing college football. Maybe he just loves college football, or he's not good. Obviously, not good enough to play the pros. But at least try to go undrafted, because like it doesn't make any sense. And so I have to believe that he's not bright, which makes me believe that he's going to make bad decisions at any age in the pocket.
I do want to jump in here, Carter. We reached a compromise on Utah's schedule. Utah, Oregon State under, if we remember correctly. Now I want to reach out my olive branch to you. October 14th, Oregon, Washington. I will definitely bet that over with you.
Yeah, but the problem is it might be like 69.5, or those like 73.5 ones. Those ones I like. Yeah,
it's interesting. I didn't take Carter to be the kind to be scared of an over.
But I've been burned too many times on those like huge ones. Remember Ole Miss?
Sounds
Miss
like
with
a chicken.
Yeah, no, I am chicken because guess what? I'm the sucker who bet Ole Miss over like 80.5 against Alabama a couple years ago.
I did that too.
Like you had to. You're like
you
saw 80.5 total, and you're like, I have to be a part of history.
Thrill of a lifetime. A lifetime. Let's do it.
I don't regret it. But yeah, Dylan, I'll ride that with you. Anything on Oregon, Dylan, before we move on?
Under 9.5. They lose to Washington, Utah, USC, and Oregon State probably.
Can I just say this? When you said like you had to bet that's like that scene in The Other Guys when The Rock looks at Sam Jackson and he's like, aim for the bushes. That was what it was like betting on that game, betting the over on that game.
You knew what was going down.
You knew what was happening. You're like, aim for the bushes, babe.
You knew if there wasn't a touchdown on the first drive, if that drive went over 3 minutes long, you're like, it's over. Like the second you saw a 3 and out, you're like, you cannot see that punter one time in that game.
It's pressure. It's pressure. It's a pressure cooker. A huge game with a huge point total. It's a goddamn pressure cooker. I'm built for pressure cookers.
I took that over too, and this is no interesting stories coming out of this, but I do remember where I was. It was like a great accident. The Hollywood Casino in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. I was in the poker room, and I watched like the first quarter, and they have TVs all up on the walls or whatever. Yeah. And the first quarter went by, and I was like, yeah, I don't need to watch this anymore. I can just be fully invested in playing crappy poker.
Yeah, awesome. Exactly. Real quick, let's move on. Washington, their win total is 9.5. Michael Penix return. Heisman watch. He's kind of a sexy Heisman pick.
Another 25-year-old.
Yeah, another 25-year-old. Their offensive line is like they were great last year. They do lose a couple guys. This is a stay away for me. I could see them going like 10, 8, 9. Like I just don't want to be a part of this one.
I can't read Washington at all ever.
They're the Iowa State of the West Coast. I can never get a read on Iowa State. Same with Washington.
Yeah. The moment they got Penix, after he transferred in, I remember thinking like, I saw him in Indiana. They were flashes. I don't think that Washington's going to do shit. And then, they'd be down by, 2 scores. And then all of a sudden, after horrendous play or, kind of whatever play, Penix all of a sudden would just like throw deep and then it would be 2 touchdowns really quickly. And I was I can't get a good read on him. That's a stay away from me. I can't get a good read. I don't know if it's going to be up or if it's going to be down. I think I'm leaning towards under, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I can't get a read on this team at all.
Dylan, anything on Washington?
No play on the win total or them to win the conference or anything. Penix had a really, really good year, 2019, right before COVID. He had a really good game against Ohio State. And Indiana actually did pretty well. Then COVID year hit, didn't do too well. 2021 came around, still didn't do very well. And then finally came around last year. So I think he's going to play very well. You're right about the linemen. They're bringing 3 new guys in. Defense atrocious. So they allowed like the 70-some most points in college football. I will take him to win the Heisman 14-1, but nothing on the team. The defense is just, what are you going to do?
Yeah, and I mean they play everybody in the Pac-12, and they play on the road at USC. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't, like you mentioned, Brian. They're a tough team to get a read on. Let's move on. We don't have anything on them. Oregon State. This is the team I want to talk about. I can't wait to talk about the Beavers. They got screwed in conference realignment. They are going to be hungry. They got DJU at quarterback. Their win total's 8.5. Last season they went 10-3 with one of the worst quarterbacks in the conference. I love the Beavers here. Give me over 8.5. One of my favorite plays in all of college football. They're right up there with my Kansas over win total. I love Oregon State over 8.5 wins.
I don't know what the juice is on this, but it's a fucking lock that they're going to win over 8.5 games. Like, I think they'll win 10 games. I think, like, and then it's interesting what DJ Onguleleyu is going to do because he's, playing in the West, something I think he'll be more comfortable doing. For whatever reason, people, I don't know why. I think it's just a West thing, but I think he's just going to be more comfortable there. Like you said,
the pressure like he did at Clemson.
Right. And you know what? He fucking wasn't throwing any. Who was he throwing to at Clemson, anyways? And I think it's going to be. I think they're just going to ask him to. Like you said last year, the quarterback was so bad. I think they're just going to just say, "Hey, man, like just play. They're going to run the ball. They're going to play good defense. They're going to be in a position to win. And he's going to have an opportunity to make plays." I think that this team is a tough team to play. Like, I forget what the coach's name. I think it's Coach Smith. He's building something there. It's impressive, and I think 10 is where they're going.
And they have a new stadium, too. Also, real quick before, Dylan, I know you probably have something on Oregon State as well. Best red zone defense in the nation last year. You like your defense, don't you? And then let's run through the schedule real quick. At San Jose State, win. At UC Davis, win. San Diego State, win. At Washington State, should be a win. You never know. That could be a little tricky one up in Pullman. Home Utah. They get to play Utah at home. They don't have to go to Utah. They avoid playing USC on their entire schedule. They get UCLA at home. They get Washington at home. Oregon, rivalry game in Eugene. That's going to be a tough one, but they can squeeze it out. You never know in a rivalry game. They play Stanford, Colorado, Arizona, Cal. Like, those are easy wins. Like, I see 8 wins minimum on this schedule, minimum blindly. And then you have to beat Utah at home, UCLA at home, Washington at home, at Oregon. They win one of those.
I don't know. You guys are talking about their defense. They're only returning half of their defensive production. So a lot of the guys they had on that defense last year, they're not going to be back.
That's true.
True, but
that's true.
Culture.
I'm also.
That's all you have to say. Whenever you're lost in the argument, just be like, they have such a great culture.
And I will say I like, I like the stats or whatever. But I've just heard DJU so much. I'm out. I'm done. I am done with DJU. I don't care who he's playing for. I don't want to hear the guy's name again because coming up he was the next big thing, and now I sound like a casual, but
no, that's fair because I feel like everybody in college football has that one guy they either like attach themselves to or they're like, nope, he sucks, he's the worst. The Spencer Rattlers of the world, the DJUs of the world. I'm blanking on some other guys off the top of my head.
It happens.
Yeah.
Guys that are number one in the nation and they come and play. Like, I think I don't know if DTR was the number one in player ranked in the nation, but a lot of the times like these guys come over and then end up not doing what they're supposed to do. So I don't know. I'm kind of with. I'm picking up what Dylan's putting down. I very much have my hands folded and seeing, fingers like I'm very much like, let's see what you can do. But I also do believe, as dumb as it sounds, like, Dylan's a stat guy. I'm all gas, no brakes, baby. I'm here pointing at my heart. I'm here. So I think something to be said about the culture, something to be said. They're angry. These Beavers are angry.
Yeah. Give me Oregon State over 8.5. Last thoughts on Oregon State, Dylan.
I am going to go under 8.5. It's juiced to minus 150 now on Bet365. I am going to take the under. I think the defense takes a big step back. Fun fact, Oregon State had 7 different players throw passes last year.
Yeah,
that's
that
my fun
show
fact.
That they went 10-3 last year, and they're bringing in a quarterback who will play all year. Like, I think we can. That's safe to say with DJU. He
I mean,
can't be worse than what the quarterbacks were last year.
No pressure.
But the defense can be, and it probably will be.
Fair. Yeah. But their schedule is even easier than it was last year, too.
It's fair.
But anyhow, let's move on real quick. Last big team I want to talk about, and then I'll scroll through the ends and we'll roll through the rest. UCLA. Bryan, you're a UCLA guy. Their win total's 8.5. They lose DTR. They lose their running back. Dante Moore coming in at quarterback. 5-star recruit, one of the best in the country. If you watch his tape, my problem is, like, tape is such a freaking tease, man, because you see, like, you have the tape of Dante Moore and you're like, oh, he's going to be amazing. Like, he's going to be awesome. It's like watching those high school and one mixtapes and you're like, oh yeah, Michael Jordan coming to our school. Let's go. Like, no, he's not going to be Michael Jordan. He's not even going to get drafted. But give me your thoughts on UCLA 8.5 wins.
So I think I think it is over 8.5. I say that. I think the appropriate term is like trepidatiously. I don't know if that's a word, so I'm going to use cautiously. I know that's a word. 80% sure cautiously is a word, but but
It is.
I look at Dante Moore, and from what I've said, from what I've heard, and from what I've read, it's not, it hasn't been a slam dunk, in training camp, and so it's a little concerning, but at the same time, a lot of the defense is returning, and I think at this point, UCLA feels like a school that now is over that hump. I feel like they are, over that hump, and it shouldn't be a surprise that they go over, and the transfer portal is good to UCLA. So I do think that they go over on that, and I'm curious to see what Dante Moore does do, and hopefully Chip Kelly, improves upon what he's done the last 2 years.
Real quick, my last thoughts on UCLA, and then I'll let you go, Dylan. I'm not going to touch the win total. I'm going to stay away because they just have some weird road games at Utah, at Oregon State, at USC. I mean, it's in LA, whatever. Just too many question marks. I don't know. I don't know with Dante Moore. Chip Kelly, good coach. I think the biggest advantage UCLA has going into this year is no film. There's no game film on them, so they can surprise anyone. But that's all I kind of have on UCLA. Dylan, go ahead.
This isn't anything against you, Bryan, but just kind of how we talked in the previous conference previews. I don't really like betting on teams where the quarterback is a question mark, and that applies to Ohio State, that applies to Georgia, Alabama, and it applies to UCLA here. Obviously, big loss, Michigan man, Zach Charbonnet. That's tough too. As tough. Star running back Michigan made, losing him. I want to see Dante Moore be a good player. I hope he is. But I'll probably take the under. Nothing personal, just purely a play on having an inexperienced quarterback.
Yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead.
No, I have nothing. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, I think that's totally fair. Obviously, these schools are not. Obviously, UCLA is not any of these schools, but those schools seem to figure out a way. Is all I'm going to say. And so maybe Chip Kelly, I don't know. Part of me sometimes I think Chip Kelly is also like a stupid person. I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I look at him and hear the stuff he says, or I look at his stupid fucking face when a play doesn't work, or DTR threw a pick, and part of me was always questioning him because DTR was 35 years old and still starting quarterback at UCLA, and I remember thinking, like, you couldn't find somebody else to play quarterback. And obviously DTR is, he's doing well in Cleveland. He's probably going to make the Browns, and he's probably going to take the backup job to Deshaun, and he's, very likable. But he's also 27, 25, whatever the fuck. He's obviously like 23. But my point being is, I don't know. I'm still not sold on Chip Kelly, and I haven't been sold on Chip Kelly since his first year there or his second year there, and we played Cincinnati and got spanked by Cincinnati. And this was before Cincinnati. They were just like day one of the program. It was day one. So they hadn't even become Cincinnati. So I don't know.
Yeah. So Dylan, you staying away from the win total too?
No, I'm taking under 8.5.
Oh, you're
I
going
think it's
under. Oh.
yeah, I'm going under for UCLA. This one's actually, let's see, I had it just pulled up. Yeah, under 8.5 plus 105.
It's a great bet. It's a great bet. Great bet.
I'm staying away because maybe that Dante Moore dude is legit. So that's why I don't want to get into that business. Real quick, I'm going to run through these last teams and then we'll wrap up here. Washington State, their win total is 6.5. Last season they went 7-6. Cam Ward returns at quarterback. They ranked 125th in sacks allowed. Defense is still not great. They have tough road games. They feel so 6-6 to me. So 6-6 feels so right for Washington State, and they're going to upset one of the big dogs of Oregon, Washington, or USC. They're going to upset one of them. It feels inevitable. Any thoughts on Washington State before we move on?
Nothing here, but I would say the bell-shaped curve would say it's likely going to be USC.
Okay, all right. You got me there. That was good. Moving on. Cal. This is a win total I do have. Cal's win total is at 5. I've seen it 5.5. In some places it's juiced at 4.5 on the over. Give me under 5 or under 5.5 for Cal. Their quarterback has no experience coming in. They lost their entire offensive line. They have one of the worst offensive line in the countries. Below average defense, tough games. They have like 2 gimmies on the schedule. It's Idaho and then at North Texas. And that's about it.
Cal has become the Connecticut of the West.
Yes.
I genuinely, we were talking about it the other day, I think yesterday in the office. And because there are a couple people from the Bay Area, obviously everyone's from everywhere in any office. But my point being, like, you know, there's a ton of people from that area. And they were telling me that they genuinely believe that the program's going to shut down as soon as you have people move out. Like, as soon as they figure out, as soon as everyone figures out where they realign, like, who the hell is going to Cal, like, anymore? The last great player that went to Cal is Jared Goff, and he's had an up and down career, and before that, the last 3 were Deshaun Jackson, Marshawn Lynch, and Aaron Rodgers.
Jaylen Brown, basketball.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown, but I guess he didn't play football, so
yeah. I mean, it's a scary time, you know. Shout out Coach Mark Madsen, who just took a job there. So, rough time to take
dog.
Yeah, Mad Dog, dude. I love Mad Dog.
Karter.
Anything on Cal?
Karter, can you give me your hand? We agree on something. I'm going Cal under, baby. Cal under 4.5 on Bet365. It's let's see, I just had it pulled up. Yeah, plus 130 under 4.5. They did commit the 29th least amount of offensive penalty yards last year. You know me, I love teams that don't commit penalties. But here it doesn't matter. They are returning most of their players in the Pac-12. They have the most returning productivity. But when your productivity isn't good, I don't think it matters. So I'm going to go under 4.5.
There we go. All right. Moving on. Arizona, their win total's 5. Last season they went 5-7. Jaden DeLora, the transfer from Washington State, he's in at quarterback. He was there last year as well. They're going to be an overs team. They're going to have to throw the ball, be exciting. They're not great defense, score some points, make some, teams, have a little tight butthole games at late night on a Saturday for some teams. And that's
nothing
about
better.
It. That's about it. I see them going 5-7 again. I'm staying away from it. I don't want anything to do with this.
Tight buttholes on a Saturday night, eating some ice cream. It's a good time. You know what I mean? You're like,
leftover pizza from earlier.
Yeah, I have no fucking idea how this is going to go down. It's 10:30. You know what I mean? I'm in my chonies, or it's the wintertime and you're in your PJs and your house shoes, eating ice cream. You're like, fuck, please go my way. Nothing better. Yeah, I'm into it.
Yeah, and Arizona over in your jams at 10:30 Eastern. That's what it's all about. Dylan, anything on Arizona?
I pass. Nothing.
Pass. All right, I love it. Moving on, this is the most pass team I've ever had. Like, we've done all these conference previews. There's never been a team I've passed more on than Arizona State. Their win total is 4.5. And stay away. That's all I got.
Yeah. Can we do Colorado?
Wait, Dylan, do you have anything on Arizona State before we move on?
I pass again.
Okay, good. I was making sure. If anybody had anything on Arizona State, I was going to make you call the hotline. All I wrote in the notes basically is like, they're going to ruin some bets, and that's about it. They're going to ruin some bets, and that's about it.
It'd be a bad beat on a Monday night.
All right, prime time. Colorado. Win total's 3.5, like I mentioned before. John Ewing on Twitter, I think he's with MGM. They are the most bet team on the over win totals in college football. That's the worst thing you want to hear if you're a Colorado fan. Win total's 3.5. Deion Sanders coming in. His kid's going to play quarterback. They had a massive overhaul of the roster, a lot of question marks, but it can't be any worse than last year going 1-11. Brian, what did you want to say on Colorado?
So it's tricky because sometimes, the public is right. And unfortunately, like for me, I really want the public to be right. But I do not, like no one knows. Like no one knows if this dude can do the things that he's, saying he's going to be able to do. Like we don't know. He has Louis luggage now. He said, I'm bringing Louis. And if this luggage ain't Louis to us, it's going to be very, very interesting because he's going to the Big 12, and it's going to be, I don't know. Like, I genuinely, to me, they're the most interesting story in college football for me personally, because I really want to see Prime come in there and shake the shit up. I want to see Colorado do really, really well. Like, if Colorado somehow manages to win 7 games, like, that's pretty fucking good, in my opinion. So, like, I don't know. It's so interesting to me. I'm gonna watch all their games. I really, really want. I forget his name. This Shiloh. Forget his son's name. I really want, but like, no one's talking about him as a draft prospect. So like, he can't be that good. But at the same time, how much tape does anybody have on him? Because he was playing, at an HBCU where no one really goes out and takes the time and watches that kind of stuff. That watches the tape on those kids, anyways.
Yeah, I don't know. There's too many question marks for me. I'm staying away. If they weren't the number one team on the sports books that the public are backing, then I probably would ride Colorado just because I like those low 3.5 numbers. But I'd stay away. I don't feel comfortable. I don't know enough.
I don't know if you guys are in the same boat or not, but the whole time this thing was going on, I was just kind of like, I don't care. Like I just don't care about what's going on. It's just like, I don't know. It seemed like a whole lot of drama. Deion wants to come in and run the show. Yeah, you're not
much for showmanship. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's like, and then
John
also
Stockton.
seeing, fundamentals. Yeah, never mind. I'm not going to say that. But yeah, it's just like whatever. And you're bringing in these guys. No one knows anything about them. So from a betting perspective, I don't want to put my money anywhere near the over or the under because it might end up working out for them. But that's kind of my take. Is like this whole time, it's like, why? I just didn't care about it.
Prime time, that's why.
Yeah, I love it.
The next guy I want coaching my team is someone that started a fake school and sent the basketball team to tournaments everywhere. Prime Prep, anybody ever heard of it?
Yeah.
I am dead serious.
Yeah,
Prime Prep. My little brother has a T-shirt, a Prime Prep T-shirt he got from a player. Fake school.
I heard about it. Didn't go well. The academy. Did something happen? There's been some questionable. Now to past listeners who may know or may not know where I work, I won't mention it, but I have heard some things about said coach that haven't been so favorable. But at the same time, I've chosen to ignore those things, and still love
the wake of entertainment. Yeah, there you go. All right, last one real quick. Stanford, their total's 2.5. The program's a disaster. David Shaw no longer there. They might not even have a football program in the next couple of years. Who knows with this team? So anybody have anything on Stanford? Because ultimate pass for me.
If it were up to me, if I was making the rules, Stanford's already stacking the W's. They're one of the very few schools that their mascot doesn't end in an S. That's a W. They have Christian McCaffrey. That's another W. So they only have to win one game to cash their over. That's if I was making the rules. That's if I was making the rules.
They seem like a disciplined bunch.
I bet they are a very well disciplined bunch. Yes, I bet.
Low.
Yeah, keep it low.
Yeah.
I have nothing seriously on it because I don't care.
Yeah, all right, there we go. Perfect. All right, that'll do it from us. Make sure to follow us all on Twitter. It's all in the episode description below. Check out @CarterCast on all social media, cartercast.com. Subscribe to the YouTube. Subscribe if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, wherever. Thank you guys so much for listening to all the college football previews. We'll be with the NFL soon. NFL is coming back. I can't
I'm
wait
so
to
excited.
do NFL previews. We're going to go division by division. We'll do 2 divisions per episode. I can't wait for those to be out. Follow us on Twitter. You'll find out when all those are coming out. We'll have a consistent schedule going forward. And here we go soon. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.